Thank you, Vice President Harris. Thank you for that introduction, and more important, thank you for your amazing leadership on this important issue. I think that we should not only get back to work tomorrow, but we at the Commerce Department will continue to work today because today is the day that we're launching this new initiative, and tribal lands can apply for this $1 billion. And I want to thank President Halsey for your leadership. And of course, I want to recognize my colleague, Secretary Deb Haaland, for your outstanding leadership. When COVID-19 lockdowns began about a year ago, most schools all across America immediately switched to online education, except for those children who didn't have access to broadband. They weren't lucky enough to be able to continue to go to school. They had their papers delivered to them at home with a school bus, and they went months, if not a full year, without any interaction with a teacher. Last month, I met with leaders from the Navajo Nation, and I heard their stories, these heartbreaking stories, similar to what the Vice President just shared about those struggling with addiction. I heard the stories of children who were left out and left behind because they couldn't attend school because they didn't have access to high-speed broadband. Students at other tribal-serving schools had to drive for hours or have their parents drive them for hours to sit in the parking lot of a convenience store to have access to broadband so that they would have a chance to go to school or do their schoolwork. The fact of it is, and everyone knows it, in the 21st century economy, broadband access and affordability is essential to everyday life. Think about your own lives. You couldn't do your jobs, you couldn't go to the doctor, your children couldn't go to school if you didn't have access to broadband. And it isn't right and it isn't fair that right now every American lacks basic access to broadband. And the fact of the matter is only half of residents on tribal lands have fixed home internet service. That means half or more don't. And that means we have a lot of work to do. High-speed broadband that all of us take for granted is just simply out of reach for too many Americans. Disproportionately, those who are non-white and those in a lower income. And the Biden-Harris administration is committed to building back a better, more equitable economy where nobody's left behind. And so as we come back from the pandemic, now's the time for historic investments to bring affordable, reliable, high-speed broadband to every single American. And that means everyone. Everyone. And that's why, as the Vice President said, President Biden proposed $100 billion in the American Jobs Plan to fully close the digital divide. We believe a $100 billion investment will enable us to fully close the digital divide all across the nation. And today, we're taking a critical step forward in the direction of ensuring that every American has access to high-speed, affordable, high-quality broadband. In that we are announcing $1 billion in grants to expand broadband to unserved and underserved tribal lands. These grants will help tribal communities participate more fully in today's modern economy. The grants will be available to eligible Native Americans, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian entities for broadband deployment, digital inclusion, workforce development, telehealth, and distance learning. It's time to close the digital divide. It's past time to close the digital divide. And with the announcement today of $1 billion being put out into the community, we are taking a step forward in that direction. I'd like to say thank you to my team at the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, called NTIA. They've done a terrific job getting us to today, and they will ensure, working with tribal leaders that funds are distributed equitably, so no fund will be left out. As the Vice President said, this initiative, we have designed it to be deliberately flexible. We will be working hand in glove with tribal leaders and partnering with them so that the money will be used in the highest and best ways depending on what that particular tribal land needs. It could be laying the fiber, it could be for equipment, it could be subsidizing broadband for individuals. It's not just having access to broadband, it has to be affordable. It could be, as she said, apprenticeships. It'll be putting people to work on these tribal lands, laying fiber. And as we were talking earlier, that gives people hope that they are being seen and listened to and their needs are being met when you see visible signs of progress in your community. A healthy and successful Indian country and Indian country economy is at the heart of a prosperous American economy. And federal resources are a critical part of closing the digital divide. But as I said, partnerships play a big role as well. In April, the Department of Commerce hosted a robust tribal consultation with more than 100 participants to learn how we can further tribal self-determination and sovereignty. And I'm so proud that we are joined today by President Shannon Holsey, because we need more tribal voices like hers at the table to get the job done. I'm sure you'll be one of the first in line to file one of these applications. And I look forward to continuing our engagement with tribal partners as we move forward. That tribal consultation was the beginning, not the end, of our department's engagement with the community. I'm committed to ensuring broadband access across Indian country. And frankly, I'm grateful to have the leadership of Vice President Harris, who is deeply committed to this, who knows firsthand how difficult this can be, and whose leadership will enable us to close the digital divide for every American. As the Vice President has said, when people are cut off from high-speed internet, they are cut off from opportunity. At the Commerce Department, our mission is to create the conditions for economic growth and opportunity for all Americans. And these broadband grants will do just that, create opportunity for all Americans. So we're ready to get to work to make sure that this money gets out as quickly, efficiently, and effectively as possible to bring opportunity and close the digital divide for every American. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Secretary Deb Haaland, who's doing a tremendous job facilitating rural broadband expansion on federal properties managed by the Department of Interior.
Thank you so much for that kind